Welcome to episode 204 of the Whatnots Review Show, where every week we pick a story and we talk about it. It could be a movie, TV series, anime, comic book, audio drama, all sorts of entertainment. We watch it, read it, listen to it, and then we come back here and we discuss it. My name is Melissa Wilkinson, and I am joined, as always, by my co-captain, Kyle Springer.
Hello, hello. It's been a big weekend so far.
It has.
Man, we had Multiverse of Madness come out. It was Free Comic Book Day on Saturday.
It was, yes.
It was Mother's Day today, the day that we're recording this. So lots of stuff is happening this weekend. Indeed. But yeah, my weekend was good. I mentioned Free Comic Book Day.
Yes.
I got to go pick up some comics and stuff. We got some donuts after that.
Ooh.
I bought volume 1 of the Death and Return of Superman, which I already had, but of the 5 volumes that's in that like story arc, volume 2 through 5 of what I had matched. It was like the same printing, and on the spines of them they had the Superman logo printed across them all. My volume 1 didn't match, and so the new store that I went to here in Oklahoma, Atomic Pops, they had volume 1 that matched. So I was just like,
nice.
I need to buy it, and it's so satisfying to see them all like match and line up. It's good stuff. It's good stuff.
Are these the comics where Superman has a mullet?
When he comes back, he has one.
Okay,
yes.
Right.
Yeah.
This is you are reborn in a mulleted form.
Reborn into the 90s with a mullet. Yeah. Indeed. But yeah, that's been my weekend so far. What about you?
I didn't get out for Free Comic Book Day yesterday because I went to see Multiverse of Madness in the afternoon. I'm normally a Saturday afternoon moviegoer. I make a whole day out of it for these big new releases. And I wasn't able to I didn't want to go before the movie in case somebody just mentioned something quietly to a friend and I heard it. And then I didn't have time afterwards because I had to host a Mother's Day dinner.
There you go. Well, good stuff. We are planning on doing our spoiler cast of Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness sometime today, so it should be out in this next week. Here it might already be out by the time this goes public. So yeah, be on the lookout for all of that stuff. But this week we are here to talk about Twister. Tornado movie. We were trying to figure out what movies would be in the genre that is tornado. We came up with Wizard of Oz, Sharknado, something. That's kind of the ones that I know.
Yeah, there's got to be more. We'll come to them eventually. We are watching Twister this week to celebrate the fact that you just moved to Oklahoma. I pitched you a series of movies set in Oklahoma, and you picked this one because of the very smart observation that we've never done a disaster movie on the show. Yeah,
it's a genre on here that we have kind of sorely missed. To be honest, one that I don't necessarily like. I'm not drawn to the theater or just at my home couch to be like, I really want to watch a disaster movie. That's just not me. So I've not seen very many of them. Once I hit that like formative teenage years where I could go see movies with all of my friends and stuff, and my parents didn't have to be there with me. That was like, they're like, all right, we'll go see anything in theaters. So we saw Day After Tomorrow, right? We saw 2012 back then. All sorts of stuff. But Twister was one that I had seen bits and pieces of on TV, that I had seen most of it, but hadn't seen it all like in one sitting. in one big piece. So this was my first time like actually sitting down and watching Twister. Despite me kind of knowing what happens.
Right. We all know what happens. Yeah. There's a twister and they like belt themselves to a pipe and that's how they survive the twister.
Exactly.
They did that on Mythbusters, but I don't remember the conclusion, if they could really do that or not. Busted. I only remember things that were on Mythbusters, but I never remember if the myth was busted or not.
I'm looking it up right now. Mythbusters Twister episode. Let's see what happened here. Storm. They have. Yeah, Storm. I don't think IMDb will tell me. Here we go. Mythresults.com. Mythbusters episode 149.
Helpful.
Storm chasers, specifically reinforced vehicles, can withstand an F5 tornado with winds of up to 250 miles per hour. Confirmed.
Ooh.
Is it possible to build a personal portable tornado protection shelter? Confirmed. Wow. So yeah, looks like whatever they did worked.
Oh, that's exciting. Thank you for your hard work, Mythbusters.
There you go. Good stuff. So you had seen this before, correct?
I just watched it for the first time last year. This is a movie I've always wanted to see. I've always been intrigued by the drama of Twister. And I just never gotten around to it. I was never with anybody who was like, yes, I agree to Twister. So I just picked a stormy night, like late last summer, like in August or September. It was perfect. And I had a good time. And it felt like I could watch it again.
Good stuff. Yeah, well, since I've moved out to Oklahoma, we've had one like big tornado scare so far. We're, like I said at the start, we're recording this on Mother's Day. So we're kind of right in the middle of tornado season. From what I understand, tornadoes start to happen when the cold air meets the hot air, and they all mix up and spin and all that stuff. Since I have lived on the East Coast my entire life, I don't really know what to expect from them all that much. So that night that we had the big storm, when the sirens were going off and all that stuff, I was just inside, like perfectly fine, watching TV, playing video games, not knowing like where should my reaction be? Like, how worried should I be? It was just natural for me to be like, it's just a storm. Like, what's so bad about this? It looks fine. But my girlfriend was freaking out, was watching like YouTube, like live reaction weathermen out there, like doing stuff. Yeah. And we're just like, we need to like, where's the center of the house? We need to make sure this and that. And I was just like, it's just a storm. Like, it's fine.
That is a tricky place to be in. I'm from St. Louis. I've experienced the Midwestern storm, the big summer Midwestern storm. And I know the damage it can cause. I've always been lucky that me in the immediate neighborhoods, the places where I've lived, have escaped it. But it's gotten within like, I think there was bad tornado damage on houses that I would pass on the way to high school. And my high school wasn't that far away. It's like, that's about how close it got to me. And it is sad. Growing up in the Midwest, you recognize the power and terror of a tornado.
Right.
But there is also this like, there's something kind of fun in the drama in it, which I think this movie captures, where it's just like, wow, we're in an entirely different physical environment now. This guy's doing stuff the sky doesn't do, and it's scary, but also kind of exciting.
Yeah.
In the hubbub of gathering around the news, trying to figure out what you're supposed to do. Like, it's a time when you got to be trepidatious, but you also recognize it as a very unique time. And there is a tiny thrill in that, you know? And I've never needed to do anything more than, kids, go down the basement. Like, nothing's ever happened. We just always have a sense of, first you go out and stand on your porch and look. Lots of porch looking here in the Midwest. And then if it looks scary enough, you go down into the basement. And it's not like we had rations or anything like that. We would just sit down there and like play Monopoly for an hour or two until it passed.
Yeah. Yeah, we had tornado drills growing up, like in school. But it was always one of those things of like, we don't get tornadoes out here. Like, like that's strange. Like we get hurricanes. I guess that's close enough. But yeah, it was always strange. Oddly enough, the first week that I moved out here to Oklahoma, Richmond, where I had just moved out of, got a tornado warning. And like my coworkers at my job had to like go into the basement of the office and like do all of that stuff, and it was just like, whoa, this is weird. I swear I didn't send it. Like, it's not me.
You and the tornado traded places.
Exactly. But Twister. Yeah, this is a movie that is kind of up there in my like childhood memories, like the pantheon of my like. These are the movies I remember from my childhood. It was like Twister and the movie cover of Silence of the Lambs.
Right,
Good
like
Burger,
movies from your childhood that weren't for you. Adult movies of the 90s that loom large in your mind as that's a thing adults do. And eventually you think you'll also do that. And now, and like me, I'm looking around, I'm 31. It's like, I can watch all of these adult 90s movies now. I want to do that. I want to live the life I would have lived if I had been born like 20 years earlier. I play it being a 90s adult specifically. Like, I don't have, when was the last time I watched a contemporary R-rated movie? I don't know, but I did watch Eyes Wide Shut.
But yeah, like I have fond memories of this movie also because it was just, it felt culturally impactful. Of like, this was a big blockbuster movie. It seemed to be well received when I was a kid. And I think for the most part, it has been fondly remembered too. It's not like one they look back of like, ooh, that actually didn't really hold up too well. It seems to have done very well for itself. And now, like, having like actually sat down to watch it in its entirety, the movie is pretty good. I enjoyed it, but I was also struggling to really actually be interested in the movie. Partly because I think the movie doesn't know exactly what it wants to be, but despite that, it still manages to be really good. Like it's shot well. I think it is. Actors are all fantastic. There's something about it that works, despite me just being like, all right, I'm kind of bored, but I recognize that this is good. If that makes sense. I had a weird relationship with it, where it's just like, maybe not my choice of movie, but I understand that this is good. It's like it's shot well, all that stuff, right? So, good for it, right? For good for Twister, good for Twister, right? It's that meme. Good for her, right? But yeah, like there's something about like there's a certain magic about this film that I think still really works, that I think is the strength of this film here. So I had a good time. Yeah, I think it is just a I think it's technically very special, but outside of the effects of it, the way they accomplished these tornadoes, the sort of scope and grandeur of it, I don't know if it's anything special, but it is very solidly made. It remains very entertaining. This is also, I must mention, this was a attraction at Universal Studios. You could go on Twister, ride it out, which was my first actual exposure to Twister. I went on that attraction. You wrote it out. Yeah, I wrote it out before I ever watched the film. And it's not a ride. You just go in and you like huddle in a group on like a sound stage and you just watch like
an effects demonstration. The scene in the movie where they're
Giant
at the
fans
right,
in all
the scene
directions.
the scene in the movie where they're at that drive-in theater and there's like a gas station and there's a couple different businesses around there, and then the tornado comes and just wrecks those. You watch like a sound stage that's just recreating that, and there's fire and sparks and wind and a flood, and it's cool. I really liked it. You can it has since been retired. They put something else in its place now. I forget which new ride took it over. Transformers or Fast and Furious or Jimmy Fallon or what have you.
Transformers, write it out again.
I think Transformers actually was there when I was at Universal Studios Florida, so it wasn't that one, but it's not there. But please go watch the video of a walkthrough of Twister Ride It Out. It's still neat to see. And when you're going through the queue, they've got these TV screens, old CRT TV screens, of course, playing videos of Bill Paxton and Helen Hunt telling you about the filming of Twister. And the tone of it is so strange, where they're talking about how serious like real tornadoes are and the disasters the people encounter, all the harm and the loss of lives and of property and of keepsakes and homes. And they're also talking about how tough it was for them to film the movie. And it's like, be sympathetic to these victims. Also be sympathetic to us. We also really went through something going through a fake film tornado. And honestly,
I had to work with Bill Paxton. Man, I really went through something there.
Those two did not get along. Like when you watch this video, it's the two of them in like separate cornfields. And like one of them will look over to like the other TV screen where the other one is, but they didn't film it together. But Bill Paxton passed away a handful of years ago, and I think maybe they did reconcile, or she was like very respectful and remembered him well after he died. And when he did get very close to the storm chasing community as part of this movie.
Interesting.
It was maybe not a cause, but a way of life that he really learned about. He really supported. He ingratiated himself with the storm chaser community, and when he died, these different storm chasers across the Midwest were able to like plant like their GPS signal. Like there's a map where you can see where are storm chasers right now or something like that. And they planted themselves in a way that when you looked at the map, it spelled out BP.
Okay.
For Bill Paxton.
Yeah.
It's very sweet.
Interesting. I didn't know that. So they did not get along on the filming?
They did not, no.
Interesting. Fun fact. Wow. Okay.
Two people argued. Fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is to say that I did read through the IMDb trivia of this movie, and they did go through some stuff. One of the facts was that when they needed to film a scene that was set during really stormy times, but the weather wasn't very stormy, to make the sky look darker, they would hyperlight. Like if they're driving in the truck, they would put really intense bright lights on the cab of the truck to make the sky look darker in comparison.
Right. And
Bill Paxton and Helen Hunt had frequent retinal burns making this movie.
Weird.
And for all the struggles that a real tornado victim has gone through, I don't think retinal burns is one of them.
That's wild. But before we keep going on all these fun facts and stuff, let's do a brief plot synopsis to bring some more people in, and then we can get into spoilers and all the fun facts and behind the scenes stuff that we want to talk about. Twister. So the movie starts out with a young family out in the middle of Oklahoma in the 60s, I believe, is when it takes place. And there is a F5 tornado that rips through their town, destroys their home. They're in their storm cellar. It rips off the door to the storm cellar, of which the father was holding on to make sure it stays shut. And it just rips him and the door out. Yeah. Never to be seen again. But young Joe is one of the survivors of the storm and grows up to be a storm chaser. Meanwhile, Bill Paxton's character, you're gonna have to remind
Bill.
me of his name again.
Just Bill.
Bill. There you go, Bill.
Making it easy
Playing
for
by
you.
Bill. Yeah, he is also a storm chaser, but he comes back onto the scene. It's now in the present day, and he has a new job, a new car, a new life, and he's here to get Joe to sign the divorce papers.
Well, he's going to marry this lady. So this is like the last thing they have to do is, okay, we need to actually get the final signature on these divorce papers because he's going to start a new life. He's going to get married. And he's brought his fiance along with him on this trip to get the papers signed. And then tornadoes are on the way and he can't say no. He can't turn his back on his old life if you bring him into a tornado.
Say no, just too tempting.
He's got to go get involved with that tornado.
Yeah. But in the midst of that, they have finally completed this design that was Bill's kind of idea for this device to help them like measure and study tornadoes and how they work and get these like they have these little like ball shaped things that send out these radio waves and stuff so they can map it out and study it and all of that stuff. And meanwhile, there is this other kind of corporate sponsored news station sponsored storm chasers doing the same thing, stole the idea. They're the ones getting on the news being like, yeah, we built this device. It's our design, you know, all this and that. And so it's kind of this like ragtag group of storm chasers and that counterculture that they represent in the movie versus this, like more corporate sponsored version of that to see who will win and who will study and map out the next big tornado.
It's Carrie Elways and his fleet of like matching sleek black SUVs versus Helen Hunt and her ragtag team of Philip Seymour Hoffman driving like a painted hippie van.
Yep. That and the old like old dirty Jeeps and stuff like that. Yeah. So good stuff. Good stuff. Yeah. I mean, I feel like for the most part, this movie holds up. The effects, you can kind of tell when they're all CGI or green screen and stuff like that. But I think despite that, it holds up well enough.
Yeah.
It's a good one.
There is a lot of this movie that was done practically. And it is I think it does as much as it can to like put you in that environment. It's a very immersive movie.
Yeah. Yeah. Good stuff. So if you have not seen it, go check it out. It is a classic disaster film. It's a classic 90s movie.
Yeah.
Definitely go put this on your watch list if you have not seen it yet. But yeah, with that, let's take a quick break for housekeeping, and we will be back after that for spoilers and stuff. So we will be right back. We put a lot of hard work into the shows that we make, and yes, we make multiple different shows here at The Whatnots, and we'd love it if you check them all out. You can find out more information on our website at thewhatnots.com, as well as your favorite podcasting platform of choice. When you type in The Whatnots, all of our shows will pop up right there. Just don't forget to give us a nice rating and review if you like the shows. If you want to support what we do here at The Whatnots, patreon.com/thewhatnots is the best place to do that. You can support us for as little as $1 a month. You can get all kinds of exclusive content at the $3 tier. You can also get a shout out and a thank you on all of our shows at the $5 tier. You can support us on Twitch by subscribing to our channel at twitch.tv/thewhatnots, and we would love to have you all join us for our live streams and talk with us in the chat. And lastly, we have merch. If you'd like to grab yourself a shirt or a sweatshirt or a mug or something else, go to thewhatnots.com/store to pick up some merch today. And we are back. A big shout out to all of our Patreon supporters. Thank you so much for supporting us. It means a lot. We cannot do this without you. So thank you.
Thank you.
Cool things that we've been up to here at the Whatnots. Recently, we filmed our reactions to the second half of Moon Knight. If you guys want to hear our thoughts on the finale and how that show wrapped up, that is on the Reactor Core. I also mentioned our Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness spoiler cast. We should be recording that later today. It might already be out by the time this podcast goes live. So be on the lookout for that. That will be on the Reactor Core as well. On the Captain's Log this past week, it was also Star Wars Day, May the 4th. So we built our own Star Wars. So go get ready for the Sicko Bros. You'll have to go find out who they are and all that stuff on the Captain's Log. It was a lot of fun. Crossplay, I've been mentioning, it's kind of a slow time in video game stuff. I think all of the delays and stuff from COVID are finally really, I mean, that they've been hitting game studios, but now we're in a time where there's just not really many releases. So we are finally diving back into our back catalogs and stuff. I'm about to play Cyberpunk for real this time. They released the next gen update, so I can finally play it on my PlayStation 5, and I'm excited to dive into that this next week and stuff like that. So yeah, that is about housekeeping for us right now. So let's get into spoilers. There you go. Where do you want to start with this one?
Let's start with our motley crew of characters, because I think that is one of the fun parts of this movie. I don't know all their names, but I like everybody who's in. Dusty. There's Dusty, played by the late Philip Seymour Hoffman. He's very fun. You got Alan Ruck in there, Jeremy Davies. Yeah. And then on the opposing team, you've got Dharma Phil. So 2 cast members from Lost, just as I promised.
Yep, indeed.
Yeah, like Man, you don't know these guys' names except for Dusty, but they still leave you with kind of an impression. They all look distinct and kind of interesting.
Yeah, they all have this like really tight familial bonds that even if you don't know their names exactly or what exactly they do on the team, it's nice to have them, right? But I have to at least say I almost didn't recognize Jeremy Davies. The youngest I've ever seen him on this, because you know that's how time works and stuff like that. But just like the way his hair is almost the same, like he always kind of has that same haircut, but it was like the way his like facial hair was with that. Like I almost didn't recognize him. I was like, that's Faraday. That's Jeremy Davies. What the hell? But
he's one of your top actors if you need somebody to squint at a piece of equipment and then give you some techno jargon.
He's great. I always love him whenever he's in something. And God, he's one of my favorite like TV actors for that specific thing. He always plays a similar character, some like scientist or tech genius that is troubled somehow, some way, right? And then they're always just like, man, this guy's a little weird. He's a little out there, right? And that's his character. But he nails it every time. And I think on this Storm Chaser team, I don't know the name of the character that he plays, but same kind of thing. He's just this like oddball weirdo on the team. I mean, they're all kind of oddball weirdos. But it worked, and I was just like, he seems like a weather nerd. Wouldn't you like to know, weather
unique
boy?
Type of a nerd. Where are your parents?
Exactly.
I I also like that when they are. This whole movie takes place in like 24 hours, except for that flashback at the beginning, which I really like. I like the pace of it. I like that they're always running and gunning and pounding coffees, chasing those storms. But as they're driving across Oklahoma, they realize, oh, we're close to Wakita, I think is the name of the town, where Joe's aunt lives. They're like, let's go see your aunt. Let's go see your aunt. And she's this like fun, like artist who has like cool sculptures in her garden. And she has them all over.
Quirky grandma.
Yeah. And she'll cook for them. That's why they want to go. They're like, we need to eat real food. Let's go to your aunt's house. And she cooks them all steak and eggs and gravy and just this huge, like real stick to your ribs, powerful meal. And she loves to see them. They love her. It is a loving family dinner in a very weird circumstance.
It's a wonderful scene.
Right. Like they all give her a big group hug. They'll pile on her. She gives each of them a kiss.
It's great. It's fantastic. Yeah. So one thing I, again, kind of want to point out, or I guess not again, because I haven't really. So there is this kind of like counterculture to what they do, which I thought was interesting, and in the way they portray storm chasing and stuff like that. Because I know it. I know the culture exists. I don't know anything about it, so I don't really know if this is an accurate portrayal of that. But in a weird way, I feel like it kind of is. They're like. The word counterculture feels weird to me. I don't know if that's the best
word. I get
word,
what you're saying. Yeah, like these are people who are passionate enough to live this very unusual lifestyle where they drive straight into this thing that they know could kill them.
Exactly. And they're not portrayed as punks, right? Like that is what I think of when I say counterculture. But they do have this kind of stick it to the man, down with authority kind of lifestyle, where they just want to do this like dangerous thing. They just want to be wild and free and just be the kind of weirdo nerds that they are. And the movie then kind of underscores that with this like, hey, there is this corporate version of what they do. These weather stations are sponsoring it. They have money and they have all matching black vans and they're sleek and they get on the news, and it's interesting to see it portrayed like that. On one hand, it's kind of funny, but it's like knowing that I don't know anything about the culture and just like the tiny bits of just like knowing it's dangerous, knowing what it takes to have to like go and chase those and deal with that. Like it takes a certain type of person to be willing to go out there. And I feel like counterculture fits.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. And this opposing team, like they're knowledgeable, like they've got the tech, they've got higher end tech than our main team has, but they don't have the passion and they don't understand the tornado as well as Bill and Joe and their team do. They can't see what the tornado is going to do, and this destroys them. Carrie Elwes and his long-suffering driver driving him around in this truck, like they just get swept up into a mile-wide tornado that like they couldn't tell was heading straight for them.
It's like that scene in The Office. It's like, but there's a lake there. No, the GPS says go straight. There's a lake there. No, so let's talk about Bill Paxton a bit here, and let's talk about his character Bill, because he is this character that is trying to kind of move on from this lifestyle, not to be as wild and free, but he's trying to settle down and find a new wife and get a good job, right? And yet he is the one that has this almost like spiritual connection to the hurricanes. He can read them, and even the rest of this like ragtag crew doesn't understand it. Like they don't have that same connection, but they're all about it. Like they're there for it. They're like, man, no one understands a storm like Bill, right? And that's why you get scenes in this movie of like there's that one scene where the corporate guys are driving down the road, and Bill and his team come out of the cornfield onto the road, like right next to them, and then they like veer off, right? And like they completely stop, and they're like, should we be following him? What's happening here? And yeah, then they get the corporate people get caught in that like mile wide storm, and Bill just has this like innate ability to like predict what is happening in a way that no one else can. How did you feel about that? Like, what did you take that to be a little more supernatural, more spiritual? What's going on here?
I don't know. Spiritual maybe. But yeah, I think if you just really care about the science of meteorology and of tornadoes, and like you study them, and you get in there, you immerse yourself in the tornado, and you know what the tornado is going to do, you'll get there in a way that Carrie always never has gotten there. And for Joe, this is also very personal. Like an F5 tornado killed her dad, and she wants to make sure this never happens again. So while there are times when Bill's like, this isn't worth it, like this experiment isn't going to work, it's too dangerous, like we should turn back, she is always willing to go all the way to like get this Dorothy research satellite thing picked up by the tornado so it can spin it around and release all these sensor balls. So they can read the tornadoes and give the citizens a better early warning system. Like she's doing this to save lives. All of them are. She doesn't want this to happen to anybody else the way it happened to her. So I like that this is a very personal, almost revenge mission. Their relationship with the tornado is like vengeance and adoration. Yeah, and I like that line. Yeah. It's a white whale, but if Captain Ahab was also concerned that the white whale would eat everybody else's leg.
Sure, yeah.
Like I need to take this down for a sense of personal satisfaction and protecting the citizens of Oklahoma.
True. Yeah. 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 It's a noble cause.
Yes.
Right. For them to go do this. And it's interesting because, yeah, her goal is to save lives, but then the rest of the crew kind of revere Joe as like she's the crazy one in the group. Like we're all the ones who like we've seen an F3, maybe an F4. We've never seen an F5, and like we're scared of it. Scared not in the sense that they would run away, but scared of like we kind of don't know what to do with ourselves if we got one. But she is always there, like pushing to go that extra step, to do that extra thing, to not give up. And I think they all kind of really admire her for that. And yeah, it's just it's an interesting dynamic. And she's also like the only woman in the group. She's also like very attractive. It's just that like weird combination of like, so Hollywood put together a group and there's the one hot girl.
I think there's the girl with the bucket hat. And I don't remember Carrie always as a lady on his team. Yeah. I want to talk about Melissa, not just because she has my name and I get to say my name a lot. But this is Bill's new fiance who gets wrapped up in this. Yes. And I think she's a character with a lot of dignity to her, a lot more than you would expect or that you might see in other movies, where she's completely out of her element in this world. She's no idea what's happening. And she's brought in, and at first she's like when the first tornado pops up and Bill's like, honey, I kind of want to go check this out. She's kind of along for the ride. She's like, I've always wanted to see what it is you do. Yeah. And she's putting up with all of it. Like, she seems to get along with how weird Dusty is. Those two are like oddly friends at the beginning. She's like, all right, I accept this. I'll work with this. Yeah.
She's also kind of the first one that she met.
Yeah.
Bill was like, hey, Dusty, why don't you explain to her why you are the way you are?
That was it. That is what he says.
So yeah, she has this like odd connection to like, okay, Dusty, you're the weird one,
right?
But you're genuine, like you're sweet, like you're cool.
Welcome to the mysteries of tornadoes and the mysteries of Dusty.
Yeah.
And she is I think she's a reproductive therapist, psychologist of some kind. Like, she is also a very smart person. She is a doctor. And I like that the movie doesn't dumb her down in comparison to our protagonist. Like, she's very experienced in another avenue. She doesn't know tornadoes, but she knows something. She's a very intelligent, capable person.
Yes.
She is enthusiastic. She has no bitterness or ill feelings towards Joe. And Joe, even though she is still kind of hanging on to Bill, doesn't specifically personally dislike Melissa for any reason. She kind of rolls her eyes at her, but like, there's no animosity. There's no cattiness there. And Melissa hangs on for a while. And it's only when they are chasing it's the three of them in a truck, Melissa and Bill and Joe. And they're on this like skinny, like bridge over the water. And then these like sister tornadoes show up, that like these tall, thin tornadoes over this lake that will like rotate and like helix around each other. And it spins the truck around a bunch of times on this tiny bridge over the water. Like, that is terrifying for her to know nothing about tornadoes and be caught up into the middle of this. I like that is her breaking point. I like that they don't make her an absolute chicken from the beginning. She sticks around for a while, and she is a very sensible, understandable, relatable, I gotta get out of this. I can't handle this anymore.
She even has her like emotional breaking point when she hears them over the radio of Bill basically telling Joe like, hey, you still have me here. Yeah. And that is kind of her like, oh, okay, this marriage might not work out.
Yeah.
But so yeah, the thing that I want to say about Melissa is that while she is out of her element and might be seen as the damsel in distress because of that, you're right. She is still a doctor. She is smart. She is a business woman. She knows what she wants, and she's confident enough to go after it. And it like that is how she holds herself, even in the midst of like, well, I don't understand tornadoes, but I've always wanted to see what you do.
Yeah.
Or like, I knew you did, like you said, you chase tornadoes. I thought that was a metaphor.
Sure, yeah.
Like I didn't know you did this. Like, this is crazy. But she handles herself very maturely. And I think when she has the moment where she realizes that this is Bill, this is who she's marrying. Yeah. He's always going to kind of want to do this, and she either needs to accept that and deal with it or let go. You're right. There is no cattiness. She does not throw a fit. She is understanding, and she's accepting.
Yeah.
In a way that I don't think most other movies would have made her. There is no competition between her and Joe.
Yeah. They both get to be these very strong, independent, intelligent women who are just very different from each other. And she's fully, by the end of the movie, she recognizes that Bill, he can't let go of this old life. Like, this is where he belongs. She's like, you belong with Joe. She's able to see that. And she says, I'm leaving. I'm not going to be here when you come back after chasing this tornado. I'm going back to Texas or wherever they're from. And she's like, I'm not even that sad about it. What does that mean? I like that she realizes, like, it's almost a mutual understanding between the two of them to say, like, yeah, maybe this wasn't going to work out. Like, not because there's any major conflict between us, just because we would have eventually gotten pulled in another direction. It's better that it happens now instead of after we're already married, after we're settled down and we have kids.
Yeah.
And I do like how fairly amicable and understanding it is. Like, there's no major misunderstandings or betrayals or hurt feelings. It's a very nuanced and mature relationship, a very nuanced and mature triangle between these three characters.
The one thing that I will say to that is there also isn't very much interaction between Melissa and Joe.
Yeah, they have like one scene.
Minimal. Yeah, they have what they meet, and that is basically the only lines they have to one another. So on that hand, right, the movie just didn't give them a chance to really have any kind of cattiness or misunderstanding or who knows what. I guess take that as you will of like, hey, the two main women really don't speak to each other all that much here in
but when
this.
They
that
do
could
interact,
be an issue.
It is pleasant.
Sure.
Yeah.
But I agree with like how it ends up and how it, I think, tries to portray itself is that, yes, it is trying to be this more mature, like there is this understanding that is there, and there's no like bad blood between the two women or stuff like that. It's our bingo card square of releasing an animal into the wild.
Yes.
It's Mary Jane realizing that Peter Parker is Spider-Man, and
you're married to justice.
She's like, okay, I finally truly understand who Bill is and what he wants and what makes him happy. I'm gonna let him do that, right? And for them, that means like, hey, maybe we don't get married. Maybe I let you just do your thing here. But it's good stuff.
I want to say I also like that she's got this cell phone with her, and when she pulls the cell phone out to like take a business call. Right, like she does it with as much panache as anybody else on the Storm team does their thing. Yeah, she pulls the antenna out with her teeth, which is like a physical maneuver that I miss watching people do.
Remember cell phones with antennas that you had to extend out?
It looks cool. She makes it look cool. Biting the antenna open, popping open the phone. She's like, Dr. Melissa, what's your problem? Like she's really... I like that they give her that, like this moment of like absolute competence and clarity. Like, I don't know what you guys are doing with all your sensors, but this is my deal.
Absolutely. Yeah, man. What a good scene. So I mentioned at the start that I felt like I didn't feel like this movie knew exactly what it wanted to be. My thoughts on that are this. At times, yes, it felt like it was just about the storms and the disaster and all that stuff. At times, it felt like, is this a romance between Bill and Joe? Like, is that what this movie is supposed to be? That, like, this is the romance between them and them kind of finding each other once again? Or is this the story between Bill and Melissa and how their marriage is falling apart and all of it? Like, they're not really even like falling apart, but the realization that like it's not going to work like they thought it would. I felt like each of those things kind of could have been its own thing.
Sure.
The storm chasing aspects did not need any of the kind of romance between the characters there. If Bill and Joe had no romantic kind of chemistry or tension, I think the movie would have been just the exact same kind of.
feel like you need some sort of an emotional through line to hang the story on. Like in The Day After Tomorrow, where yes, the focus of the movie, the reason you're watching the movie is for all of this meteorological spectacle. But you do have something very small business for your heart to do, where it's like the dad trying to get across country to get to his son.
So you're not necessarily wrong there, right? Like I think having things like that within a story do help you relate to the characters and stuff like that. I think the emotional pull of the kind of storm chasing stuff is their experiment, is whether or not they can create this thing and have it be a success. And there is the tension in racing the corporate people to get it out there first. That is where the like emotional pull of just like, come on, you're the underdogs, you can do it. Like that is where that emotional pull is. The romantic relationship between Bill and Joe is strong enough by itself to be its own thing. If the movie was about that and not really about this experiment and them like, I still think that'd be a fantastic movie, right? Here's the storm chaser who tried to move on with his life, but he's just getting pulled back in. And here's good old Joe.
Yeah, I like
who he used to have a thing with, and with bam boom, they get sucked up in a tornado of romance, right?
I like that concept that this is a more straightforward romantic drama with tornadoes just as the background set dressing.
It could totally work. Like it would be its own thing. And then I think the more tragic story of Bill kind of being pulled back into this life and his wife slowly realizing that, or his fiance slowly realizing that, hey, this marriage might not work out like we'd like, is a sad concept, but I think is also an interesting enough movie, and is like we said, the idea of like acceptance of like finding out who your partner really is and accepting them, whatever that might mean. And I think for that relationship, it meant, I think I need to let him go and let him be his own thing. Like that I think is a good enough story by itself to be an entire movie. And so I just felt like I was being pulled in all these different directions. And it was just like, well, does this want to be a rom? No. Okay. So, but is it a storm? Yeah. But I feel like there was too much of this relationship stuff to be it like really, it just felt like, I understand. I don't know which way to go here.
Yeah. I think this is a disaster movie that recognized it needed the perhaps perfunctory emotional through line that's not related to the storm, not related to I have vengeance against the tornado because it took my father. I need to protect these people who a tornado could come and destroy their lives. I need to make sure my experiment works. That there is something more grounded that the average person could latch onto more specifically, like being in sort of maybe realizing you should have stayed with an old partner, realizing that maybe this new partner you're with, you like them a lot, but they're not right for you. Like, and I feel like they did that and then maybe did overdevelop the romance to where it does seem not exactly like a competitor to the Stormfront part of it, but yeah, like it could stand on its own and be entirely its own movie. Just the relationship between those three, with storms pushed way in the background. Yeah.
And that, I guess, also leads into what I think is so magical about this film is that, none of those plots are bad at all. Like all of the stuff in here is fantastic and it works and it makes for an interesting story. And like we said at the start, like this movie's just good. Like it's entertaining. Might not be one that I would particularly find myself sitting down on a Tuesday night to be like, let's watch Twister.
Mm-hmm.
But it works and holds up, and it just like there's something that's just like this movie is well made. It's
Yeah.
good, but yeah, I don't know. Like yeah, it works, and I don't understand it, and I'm just okay. Pulled in all these different directions.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think that the romance angle also does a lot to fill the time when tornadoes aren't there, which is something that is, I meant, true about this weather condition, that like you're in severe danger and you see these tornadoes, they appear out of nowhere and they disappear like instantly. Like like if I didn't presume that this is based on real science, that they don't truly appear and disappear that fast, it seems almost silly. It's almost comical when they're facing a giant tornado and then it just evaporates. You're just looking at a clear sky again. And there is that struggle of this career that it's so fast paced, and then things will just die. And you've got that lingering tension of, I know it's about to start back up again, but I don't know if it's in the next 10 minutes or the next 10 hours. And you've just got all that like tension in your body. And this helps fill that's those small bits of downtime that I think the movie needs to illustrate this field of work, and to give you that tension of and there's so many like tornado minisodes throughout the movie. You're never sure, like, are we done? Like when you start the movie, you don't know how it's going to be structured. You know, there's going to be a big tornado, but you don't know that that's going to be just the biggest of like 5 tornadoes they have to face that day.
Yeah. Which I don't know how realistic that is. I think you mentioned most of this movie takes place in about like a 24-hour time period ish. So yeah, I don't know if like a Tornado Alley or wherever the hell this is, like it can you see 5 or 6 tornadoes in one day, or is it just like, hey, there's a storm and you might see like half one it almost touched down, but then we got one that actually did, right? And like that's it. Or yeah, is there 5 or 6 that happen in one day? I don't know how realistic that is, but I think it, at least in terms of the movie, helps it move along and helps things just work at a natural pace and have this this up and down of just like, all right, tension, and then all right, let's slow down, let's focus on something else, and then tension, and then all right, let's slow down, and then, so helps out a lot. I wanted to ask you what some of your favorite scenes were in this film. Of course, we got the classic cows flying around. That's one of the ones I remember from my childhood.
When you would go to Twister, ride it out, you could get so much cow merchandise.
There you go. Yeah, that was their big selling point. Just like, cow.
Yeah.
There it goes.
That cow was like a minor celebrity of the 90s. That cow made cameos.
Yeah. Did you have a specific scene or two that stood out as like, oh man, this one is fantastic?
I like when they're at a drive-in movie, and it's not like they stop in the middle of this adventure to go to a drive-in. They're just they're taking a break, they're crashing for the night at like this little motel that's by like a gas station and a garage and a snack bar and a drive-in movie theater. And the movie theater's playing The Shining, which is a very big movie to include in your movie.
Yeah.
I feel like most other times you'd see this and it would just be some like public domain 50s B sci-fi movie. They do like that it is The Shining, and like already what the punchline of the scene is going to be, not necessarily comedically but dramatically, where he axes his way through the door, says here's Johnny, and then the tornado breaks through. The tornado is Jack Torrance. We can all see that coming. But I like that the tornado is so intense and so overpowering that when it gets to that point, it's already happening, and it like swallows up the screen as that moment is playing, and you can't even hear or see it clearly. Like I like how much that moment is given to the the tornado isn't really going to play along with your joke. It isn't going to come in at exactly the right moment, right after Jack Nicholson says the line. It's going to swallow up Jack Nicholson before he's done talking. You
Tornadoes
can barely
have terrible
see him.
comedic timing.
But I like just how obscure like the screen is. Like it is so blurry. I like that choice. I like that it isn't the clean, clear picture snap, then the tornado breaks in.
Yeah. Yeah. What was interesting to me about that bit is just how nonchalant most people are about this stuff, right? That there is a giant tornado that is just a minute or two away and they're just getting popcorn for the movie.
Well, they don't know. Like it's not until like our scientists like read it on their computers in their van that they're like, oh no, like you got to make an announcement to this drive-in theater. We got to get everybody like inside underground. So they go to this mechanics garage where there is like that sort of underground layer where, you know, they can like have the cars parked over them and they're working on the undersides of the cars, you know, or something like that. And they go in there and then there's the danger of we're around, like there's still glass windows up top. There's all these tools and heavy machinery around. When the guy gets like a real bad cut on his head, and like we have the whole team. That's also an interesting point where we've got everybody huddled. Like they're not chasing it. They're not outside with the storm trying to study it. In that time, maybe because they are in a populated area and there's more opportunities for debris that could really hurt them as opposed to when they encounter the tornado out in the middle of a cornfield. Like they get down with everybody else into this mechanics garage and like huddle there together, and they still like escape with injuries.
Yeah. What I was trying to say is that like you would think living out there in Tornado Alley, you would think, hey, if there's a big storm, we should probably keep an eye on that. Like you think they would know to do that instead of like, let's go out in the open. Let's have a movie night. Like, let's just wait for the right. Like,
oh yeah, like you're surprised that the theater still had a drive-in movie scheduled at all if there were tornadoes like 2 hours earlier.
Yeah, like if they had known like there's a big storm tonight, it's happening. We're expecting a tornado. You would think they would maybe send people home and be like, hey, we're rescheduling for tomorrow or something like that, right? But yeah, no, they're sitting there watching The Shining.
It's so strange about these storms is that they are never a sure bet. Sometimes they can come out of nowhere when you weren't expecting them and they're very damaging. And other times it's like, weather's supposed to be real bad tonight. Might want to get in the basement. And then it's just rainy and windy and like nothing truly dangerous really happens. So, like you don't know till you're in it what's going to happen.
Let me ask you something.
Yeah.
Having lived out in the Midwest your entire life, did you guys ever get days off of school for a tornado or like, hey, there is a threat like threat early enough in the day where they like delayed you coming in until the storm had passed or stuff like that?
I don't remember that because tornadoes, you don't know that far ahead of time that there might be a tornado. Like, I don't think they would know at like 7 a.m. before school started that there was a tornado warning for 2 o'clock. And like, if you do have a tornado-like condition, it can arrive so fast and pass so fast. So we did have like tornado, we had tornado drills in school, but we also were under like tornado warnings where it's like, okay, everybody, we're going to take you from like the top floor of the school and you're going to huddle with some other class in a bottom floor classroom of the school, like under your desks. And we do that for like 40 minutes and then it would pass and then we just go back upstairs to class like normal.
Those are like the tornado drills that we had too. But like, I guess I'm thinking of like, hey, if the buses are supposed to go out at 7 a.m. to start picking people up, but they know a tornado is potentially supposed to be happening at like 7:15-ish. Do they delay school by an hour just to be like, hey, let's wait till this is over and then we can go pick up the kids at 8 because most likely the storm will have passed. No,
I
Okay.
never remember
So-
that happening. When I think back on like times when I've had to go into the basement, it's typically been in the evening, and I don't know if that is
Interesting.
I mean, this is a movie where tornadoes happen across like a 24-hour period. That's been my experience. Most of them just happened outside of school hours.
Interesting.
Plus, like, it's such a
Maybe they were
summertime
respectful
thing.
of school, right? I'm just like, all
Yeah.
right, let's wait till school's out. Okay, wind them up, boys.
And like it'll happen in like summer. Except once we did have a tornado on like New Year's Eve.
Weird. So
but also not a day when you're in school, probably.
Most likely, yeah. So I was asking you that because one day when I was in, I want to say like 3rd or 4th grade,
Yes.
we had a hurricane day.
You told me this. Yes.
We got the day off of school because there was a hurricane that was supposed to be kind of coming through town, and it was supposed to be real bad. And like I got the day off of school, like we were like at home just being like, okay, the storm is supposed to be happening, and then it just never showed up. And so we just got this like free day off of school. I remember we went to like Barnes and Noble. We ate at Macaroni Grill. Like we did all this, but like that was like my that was like one of my experiences with a similar thing where it's like, hey, we know in advance there is a storm. It is coming our direction. It's most likely going to hit and it's going to be bad. Let's just, kids can stay home, like all of that stuff. Like, let's just not even deal with getting the kids separated from their parents. And then, yeah, nothing happens.
Yeah. We haven't had that. But I know you've told me the story many times. I dated a guy from Alaska who said they would have volcano days when like a volcano would erupt and there's just too much soot and ash in the sky to go
too
to
much
school.
lava.
Right. So it happens. We've had like I said, we've had tornado warnings during a school day where we'd like go into another class, like a safe part of the building for like an hour or something.
Right.
But they've never been like, okay, kids, go home or school's canceled because it's such a transient, unpredictable thing, a tornado. Like you can't really see it coming. And once it seems like it's gone, you can resume activities as normal. It's wild. You really never know what you're supposed to do with them. And like now I live on a 3rd floor apartment. I live on the top floor. Like what am I going to do? Like it's kind of pointless for me to try to do anything. I guess if it's really scary, I could go to my neighbors on the 1st floor.
Room?
Yeah. But otherwise, like when the weather looks scary, it's like, I guess I'll just be in the kitchen.
Yeah.
Which is like just the most internal part of my apartment, I guess. But still, it's like, what am I going to do? What are my options? Not even in like a scared way, more of like a, what are you going to do? Like a sassy fridge magnet. What are you going to do?
Indeed. Yeah, I don't know if I have much more to say on Twister. Despite me kind of struggling to get interested, I think it was a good movie that holds up and is a fun time. So,
yeah, I had a good time with it. Check out Twister. Check it out once. It's a perfect summer movie. Watch it between the months of May and like maybe September.
Yeah, indeed. Okay, I think that means it is time for us to do a check-in on bingo.
Bingo.
Why is it asking me? Always opening that one. I already have it set. Okay, let me pull it up on screen.
I don't think I've got anything this week.
Oh, come on, bingo. It's not showing up on the thing. Ooh. Why is it not doing that? Weird. Oh well. Okay, so you said you don't have anything.
Yep.
Lachlan typed a
No.
no. No spaceship AI, no breaking the rules of time travel, no ghosts. Let's see. I didn't have any of that.
But this does inspire me to put like movie within a movie for the future.
Movie within a movie is a good one. That yeah. No, so we've had things that almost could have been right. We have the releasing a character into the
Yes.
wild thing that
Yes.
we mentioned. We had that one on
Yeah.
our cards last year. We've had God, we've had something. I just had it on the tip of my tongue. We've had actors who were in Lost.
Yes,
right? Like,
yes.
we've
I
had
could
that
have.
one on
I
there,
already have it crossed off,
too.
but we could have crossed it off 2 more times.
Right? Yeah. So we've already crossed off some of that stuff. So I guess no real updates from either of us on bingo this week. Bit of an uneventful week there for bingo. Yeah. Well, now that is done, let's dive into recommendations.
Yes.
Melissa, for people who liked this, what else might they enjoy?
I've got a couple other big 90s movies, since that's the context in which I watched this. Like I said, I wanted to watch adult movies of the 90s that I knew I would grow up and watch, and now's the day. I'm a grown-up.
Sure, yeah.
I recently watched Speed, which is from the same director, Jan de Bont, and it's Speed. It's got the same like really fast, intense pace where it's like we can't slow the bus down. We have to like jump over this part of the highway that isn't done being built yet, and then other times it's like, we just keep driving fast. So it's got that sort of up and down roller coaster plot line to it. Also, small appearance by Alan Ruck. That's valuable. Speed's a good time.
Okay.
Another like big scope, technically very impressive that everything was pulled off so practically.
Interesting.
I would recommend Point Break. Which definitely is that counterculture element you're looking for. In that they are
surfing.
Yeah, there's this sort of odd surfer crew, and they are also like literal criminals, robbing banks. These countercultures you can get. But in a movie with just big, beautiful natural vistas, this is another movie to watch for like landscapes and I guess if you could call big waves weather. I think there's some rainstorms in it too. I think at the end of the movie they go surfing in the rain. They go skydiving. So if you just want like big, grand, actiony things against geography and wind and weather and water, you can watch Point Break. Point Break's a good time. And this movie reminded me a lot of Contact, which is I
haven't seen that one.
I like Contact a lot. I watched this for the first time like 2 years ago. And it's a movie about Jodie Foster as this sort of extraterrestrial like broadcast researcher. Like she works at one of those like way remote, out in the middle of nowhere, like big satellite stations. It's just monitoring space to see if anything comes in. And she gets something and she like insists it's real and takes it all the way up to the White House. And then she's one of the lead researchers on what is possibly the first contact with extraterrestrials. And she's also got this backstory where like her mom died when she was little. It was just her and her dad. And then her dad died. She's always wondered, like, could I ever talk to them again? Are they still out there in like some spiritual sense? And like finding a way to communicate with extraterrestrials connects her back to that. She's a similar character to Helen Hunt in this, where she's very driven, very career oriented. Like she's had her romances, but like sometimes aligned with this career, but the career always comes first. It's not an action movie. It's sort of a cerebral, philosophical sci-fi drama, but it's a really nice time. It's got some great shots in it. they build this massive machine to like send you into space that's unlike anything I've seen in any other movie. It's like a huge like gyrosphere that you spin around in, and you're gonna like transcend space and time and like go out there into the cosmos where you're supposed to meet these aliens.
Interesting.
Again, just like big scope, you know, with like very small personal like I have career goals. I am going to do science because of a tragic thing that happened to me in my past and for the good of all humanity. I must do the science. Nobody will stand in my way. I'm a small blonde woman doing science.
I want to add to that list of 90s movies with one you might not expect.
Uh-huh.
I want to put Good Burger on my list of recommendations for this. Because it is kind of like this small fast food chain up against the like larger corporate competitors, right? Like there is this idea of 90s movies going against these bigger, larger corporations that are starting to take over. And my go-to for that one is always Good Burger
versus Mondo Burger.
Indeed. Yeah.
Sorry, sir. I'm sorry I uttered.
Welcome to Good Burger, home of the Good Burger. May I take your order, please? What a good movie.
That's a very interesting comparison. Yes, I understand Good Burger.
To be honest, I don't have very many other like disaster movies that I can recommend just because I haven't seen very many. But yeah, I mean, like there's tons of stuff out there. If you want stuff that's more comedic and fantastical, of course, there's stuff like Sharknado. If you want just more kind of weird weather disasters, there's The Day After Tomorrow.
Yeah.
All sorts of stuff like that. So plenty of stuff to go check out indeed.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. With that though, let's get on to pitches.
I am ready.
It's my turn to pitch, but I have a question for you to start with.
Okay.
Do you want comics or do you want manga?
Oh, okay.
It's been a little while since we've done either.
Yeah.
We've done, I think, more comics this year than we've done manga. The only manga we've done this year was the one we did for our end of the month specials. Knights of Sidonia.
We did read a lot of that. We've done more individual episodes on comics, but we've read fewer individual comics.
Correct.
I think I'm going to go with the comics because
okay.
Whenever I see my older brother, he's talking about comics he's reading on his tablet, and I just got the same tablet model, and he's giving me comic recommendations, and I haven't got around to anything. I don't think he's ever read a manga, but if I'd like to have another comic in my arsenal, I can talk to my brothers about. You know what I did get him to read? He's been reading Something Is Killing the Children. He really likes it.
That's a great one. That's a fantastic one.
Give me some comics.
Okay, so for comics, we got 3 options here as normal. Pitch number 1. I think I've pitched this one once before, but I don't remember. This is East of West. This is written by Jonathan Hickman and art by Nick Duragata. Says, the things that divide us are stronger than the things that unite us. A sci-fi western set in a dystopian America where all hope for the future rests in the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, who just happen to be trying to kill the president of the United States. One of the most exciting new books of the year. This East of West is ongoing, blah, 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 blah. So yeah, this is like a weird, like sci-fi space western with like 4 horsemen of the apocalypse type religious stuff mixed in there.
I've seen this in comic book stores. I remember this cover design.
Yeah, the cover design is very unique. Jonathan Hickman does a lot of the design work, if I'm not mistaken, for a number of his books, and they're always very unique. And I like them a lot. I think I read like a first like issue or 2 of this, but I haven't read more than that. So I really don't know what this is about exactly, but I've heard great things. That's it. Sci-fi Western East of West. It's pitch number 1. Pitch number 2, something maybe a little bit more familiar. This is the all-new Guardians of the Galaxy,
Ooh.
Volumes 1 and 2. This is written by Jerry Duggan with art by Aaron Curter. It says, a new era of cosmic adventure begins. The Guardians of the Galaxy have taken off into space once more on their biggest and weirdest misadventure yet. Kicking things off with the boldest heist they've ever pulled,
Ooh.
Star-Lord, Rocket, and company blast their way through the galaxy with the peacekeepers of the Nova Corps hot on their tail. And soon enough, they find themselves caught in a war between the Collector and the Grand Master. Will there be any room to explain why Groot can't grow any bigger? What Gamora is searching for? Or why Drax has sworn off violence?
Wow.
You bet there will. The all-new Guardians of the Galaxy has a space for all your Marvel cosmic needs.
I do have many cosmic needs.
Yeah. So this is a fairly recent incarnation of the Guardians of the Galaxy from 2017. So yeah, they got volumes 1 and 2 on comics. All of these comics can be found on Comixology Unlimited if you are a subscriber to that. Or on Kindle. I think if you have a Kindle membership, you can read these too. So pitch number 3. This is another genre that we haven't really dipped into much. We haven't gone into the sword and sorcery genre.
That's true.
I wanted to pitch Red Sonja, volume or Sonja. I'm not sure how you pronounce it.
I think I've heard Sonya.
Sonya, yeah. This is volume 1 and 2 by Gail Simone, which I have heard phenomenal things about. Gail Simone gives the iconic fantasy heroine a fresh new attitude. Red Sonja, the she-devil with a sword, intends to pay back a blood debt owed to the one man who has gained her respect, even if it means leading a doomed army to their certain deaths. Who is Dark Anicia, and how has this fearsome warrior accomplished what no god nor demon has been able to do? Force Sonja to her knees in surrender. An epic tale of blood, lust, and vengeance, Queen of Plagues takes Red Sonja from the depths of her own grave to the heights of battlefield glory. So this would be the first 2 volumes of that. So pitch number 1, sci-fi space western East of West. Pitch number 2, sci-fi comic adventure, all new Guardians of the Galaxy. And pitch number 3, Red Sonja, sword and sorcery.
Yeah. I don't know anything about Red Sonja. That is an intriguing idea. I think I'm gonna go with East of West.
Okay.
I might check out Red Sonja at some time. I don't know. Guardians of the Galaxy. Those movies are so near and dear to my heart, but I've never read any of the comics. But we just watched the Deadpool movies. We read the Thor Goddess of Thunder comics a couple weeks ago, so we've been in a Marvel space. East of West, I want to pick that one. I don't like dystopias, but I am always intrigued by a sci-fi Western.
Yeah, absolutely.
And this is something we've been approaching pseudo Westerns this year. We started the year watching The Power of the Dog, which is more like a weird
Western crime noir.
Yeah, a weird thriller noir that's just in a Western setting. And then there was a little bit of Western fantasy in the fantasy sequences of the Landscapers. And this is a sci-fi Western. I feel like by the end of the year, we'll do enough things that are pseudo-Western enough that we can glue it together into one Western genre piece. I'd like to keep doing
single Western.
Right. We've never done a true Western, but we've done several approximate Westerns.
Yeah. Indeed. Okay. East of West, volumes 1 and 2 by Jonathan Hickman and Nick Dragotta. Like I said, you guys can find this on Comixology Unlimited if you are a subscriber, or if you have a Kindle membership, it is on there as well. That is what we will be up to for this next week. But with that, Melissa, where can the people find you on the internet?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Wilkywit. That's WILKYWIT. And listen to my other podcast, Saturday Morning Obscurities, show where me and my brother Jams talk about weird old kids shows you feel like only you remember.
If you guys want to find me, I'm at Yo Kyle Springer on Twitter. And if you guys want to stay up to date with all of the stuff that we do here at The Whatnots, we are at The Whatnots on Twitter. So please go like, share, and subscribe. And if there's a tornado, please get somewhere safe.
Yes.
Don't go chasing it. Probably not a great idea.
Don't go chasing tornadoes. Stick to
the breezes and the
winds that you're used to.
Gusts that you're used to. Yeah. We will see you all next week. Bye.
Bye.